Okay, this is my book review. I finally finished it last night of this book, Recasting Bigfoot. Uncovering the Truth About Sasquatch Amidst the Hype of Bigfoot by Gian Quasar. Interesting book. I don't agree with a lot of the points that were made in the book. It is an interesting book. I'm not going to deny that. It's an interesting take on the Sasquatch Bigfoot legend. Gian Quasar makes sure to let the audience know that he does think there's a possibility of there being a Sasquatch, but when he thinks of what he thinks of the Sasquatch, he thinks the Sasquatch is actually it's not what most people describe. We're not talking about when he is describing it, he's not talking about a large, hairy, ape-like creature akin to Gigantopithecus. That's one thing I agree with him on. It's not Gigantopithecus, in my opinion. I don't think Sasquatch is Gigantopithecus. I think it's either Paranthropus or possibly Australopithecus, something like that. Gian thinks it's actually a large spider monkey type creature. That's just his opinion. He thinks it's actually a large spider monkey type creature. As far as anybody who's ever seen a spider monkey knows what it looks like. In other words, let me find the illustration. The illustration which Gian believes could be what Sasquatch is, or what Sasquatch actually looks like. In other words, Gian does not think, I just saw that illustration, Gian does not think Sasquatch looks like this, in other words, but this is pretty much the typical classic look of a Sasquatch. But Gian does not think it looks like this. He also does not, well, he also does not think it looks like this. Although, well, he thinks that there's a possibility that there may be a little bit of what this one looks like. And he does not think he does not think that it looks like that. He thinks the Patterson-Gimlin film is a hoax. He also thinks a lot of the footprints, that have been found were hoaxes, referring to the footprints in 1958, from about 1958 through the 60s in the Bluff Creek area, Bluff Creek, California. He thinks that all those were hoaxed by Ray Wallace. And he bases that on the way these look. I believe this is supposed to be the Ruby Creek. That's supposed to be the Ruby Creek tracing of the footprint that was cast by the late Sheriff Joe Dunn shortly after the Chapman family had a run-in with a large Sasquatch. And in Gian's opinion, the Sasquatch is not over 7 foot tall. Maybe a little bit under, maybe a little bit shorter, maybe about 7 foot, maybe a little bit about 7 foot tall. Actually, Gian thinks that our modern day Sasquatch looks more like, I'll find the illustration. It's here somewhere. It's in this book. He thinks our modern day Sasquatch looks more like this, which is the famous Deloy's ape. the Loisy ape, which was a group of spider monkey type creatures, except a little bit larger, found in South Venezuela in 1920. In other words, according to him, this is the Sasquatch. Or at least it's a reasonable facsimile. Now, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that Sasquatch is this. I don't agree that Sasquatch is this. I certainly disagree with much of what Gian says in this book. It's an interesting book, don't get me wrong. I do find it a fascinating account, as it were. I find it a fascinating book, but I don't agree with it largely. Because to me, Sasquatch is actually much more, in my opinion, much more human-like than ape-like. He thinks this may be the face of the skookum. That may be what the face looks like. That's more like a gibbon or something. Not a gibbon, but a howler monkey. I certainly do not agree with that. I don't agree with his assessments of what Sasquatch is. Now he goes into gradualism, he goes into Darwinism and things of that nature, and he goes into certain aspects of the Sasquatch story that he has some interesting opinions, we'll just say that, which I certainly don't agree with. That's not to say this isn't an interesting book. It is. It's very interesting. He does not think, but again, he does not think, and I agree with him, that he does not think Sasquatch is Gigantopithecus. So, and I agree with him on that. Anyway, it's an interesting book. I do recommend it. From what I understand, all the initial printings he put out of it are completely sold out. I managed to get a review copy of it. So I do recommend this book. I would give it about a 4 out of 5 stars.